Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Here's my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he is your co-host, Sandro Luketic. And today we're talking 1989's The Wizard. We assume if you're listening to this episode, you've already seen the movie. And I think it's safe to assume that almost everybody has seen this movie, right? I
mean, it's one of the instances where I can say that, yes, before this review, I had seen this movie. It feels
Do you
like
consider it a classic?
No.
Iconic? No?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell because I don't think of it as like a cult classic, but I do think of it as a movie that most people know about. It's kind of hard to
Yeah, it's
down.
A weird one. It's a really weird one because everybody, I think, remembers this from the, they remember it because of the ending.
Maybe. I was actually thinking about this earlier today, and I was like, is this a cult classic? No. But yes.
Isn't it? Yeah,
is
right?
It? And then I was also thinking, is it a time capsule for the era? Yes, but then at the same time, no. It's really hard to put my finger on what this is. I guess we should point out that this was our August fan pick. And it was picked by Craig, who, voted it in, and then the Twitter poll went with it. And when asked why he chose this movie, his answer was simply, it's a video game-based movie. That's all we got.
Is it really a video game-based movie, though? Or is it just a movie that has video games in it?
I definitely think it's the second. It's almost kind of like how I feel about The Walking Dead, is that the zombies are not the issue. They're a plot device / obstacle. So
yeah, it's a show that has zombies.
Yeah, so this one is about the growth of the characters, the journey of Jimmy, just using video games as like a thematic plot point, because it's really not about video games.
No, but they definitely market it as such. It's a weird one. It's not a common story that you would market towards children. So I think they're like, let's really beef up the fact that video games are in this movie. We'll make every poster, every publicity image look as if everything in this movie has to do with video games. Because this is a pretty heavy movie for children.
Yeah. Yeah, when I thought back to the movie, watching it when I was younger, I clearly remembered things like the video games, which in retrospect are very minor in the movie. I didn't think of any of the deeper plot points, and when watching it back, it's like, this is not about video. I don't even think it's made by people who played video games or know what a video game is, to be honest.
Oh God, no. I remember watching this as a kid and being like, but me as a kid, I just watched every movie multiple times anyway, and I just remembered not liking it. Nothing stood out. There was one part in this movie where I almost cried. And I was like, yeah, there's no way any child would pick up on any of the subtleties in this movie.
Well, hopefully you advise us of that point once we get to it. But I will say this before we get into the plot. One last thing before I say into the plot. The video games in this movie are almost like a predetermined commercial break within a larger movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they are.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, it's basically, let's pause the plot for a second, advertise a video game, and now we'll get back to it.
Yep.
All right, I think we're going to have a good conversation about this one.
I don't.
Okay, maybe this won't go as I thought, but I'm super curious. So we'll just jump right in?
That's... You always ask me that question. It's like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I always ask if you've seen the movie too. More often than not, I know the answer.
Yeah,
okay.
But I mean, the asking if I've seen the movie is almost a comedic point at this time. But We have to get into the movie.
You're
That's
laughing at my sincerity?
No, I'm not even laughing.
Oh, so I don't humor you.
I see what you're doing here. You're trying to paint me as the bad guy. No. That's not going to happen. I'm the nice one.
Oh, now my feelings are hurt.
I'm on to your tricks. Let's get into the plot.
All right. Well, the film opens on a young Jimmy Woods, lunchbox in hand, walking along a paved road drenched in the sun of the American Midwest. A plane flying overhead radios in that they've found him and reports Jimmy's coordinates. A police SUV pulls up and stops Jimmy's attempt of going to California. Dispatch tells officers to take the boy to his mother's house, oddly dropping the information that she's remarried. Apparently, Jimmy randomly walks off and repeatedly heads to California, which leads me to believe that he has horrible parents.
Leads me to believe that perhaps they had a quota for how many times they can use police airplanes to find someone, because this attempt clearly went a lot more successfully than the next one.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a search plane fly 30 feet above a road.
It must have been a pilot program.
Oh, God.
And then they just decided, you know what? You already had one. We're not doing it again this time.
But seriously, like, if this is a repeated action, don't you think they would have gone to some sort of, outreach to, like, stop him from doing this again? Like, maybe hire somebody to watch him while he's at home?
Or, I don't know, when he gets put into a facility, it actually have some semblance of security.
Oh, I'll get into that. Yeah, have some secure setting where people can keep a steady eye on him. That goes very well.
They absolutely do treat his running away each time as an isolated event.
Well, we know that a past trauma has stunted Jimmy's ability to be social or communicate, though he finds contentment in building structures out of blocks and trying to find his way to California, as previously stated. His stepfather, credited only as Mr. Bateman, played by Sam McMurray, suggests that they put him in a home. Jimmy's mother, Christine, Wendy Phillips, seems apprehensive yet agreeable at the same time. It's like they've both decided, we haven't really been paying attention to him or looking after him, and while it seems weird to give him up, maybe we should do that because it's easiest. Because one thing that Jimmy's stepfather does is throw money at everything. So it seems like that's his solution.
You want to throw money at everything? Throw one at a security system. You stupid.
I know, it's so dumb. That I hate that character. I hate him.
I like the actor though.
The actor's great.
Yeah.
Switching, yeah.
Real quick, and I know we've been bouncing back and forth already with the plot. They explain a lot of Jimmy's motivations, reasons, and tendencies. Do they ever explain the stacking?
No.
I didn't think so. I don't see a connection to the end of the movie, the quote-unquote resolution, or if you want to say discovery, to have anything to do with the building blocks.
Did you look at the trivia for the movie?
No.
When we see him building with those blocks at the beginning here, where his parents are having the conversation of what to do with him, he's actually apparently built the set of the video game championships. Now,
thinking back to it, yeah, it was like a triple crowned section that he was building.
Yeah, with towers on the other sides, which makes no sense because he has no idea this thing exists. So the only way this would make sense is if there's some weird sense of fate in the movie.
It just blew my mind.
Really? Because it really made me dislike this element of the film. Because there's a lot of this this movie's broken in several ways, which we'll get to. But like this is one of them because it doesn't make sense. And never again in this movie do we get a sense of people following their fate. So is this just like an Easter egg for somebody who watches it a second time like we had to?
Yes.
And in which case, why? Why would you go to that trouble?
To try and make it deeper than it really is?
Because keep in mind, too, this is 1989. Like, VCRs are still pretty expensive. So I don't know how many people they thought were going to be buying this for home viewing. Anyway. Switching over to the Woods house, brothers Corey, Fred Savage, and Nick, Christian Slater, make fun of their father Sam's attempt at making them a decent meal. Sam being played by Beau Bridges. I always thought it was Jeff Bridges, but, brothers, close enough. The boys say they saw Jimmy the other day and heard that the plan is to put him in a home. Sam's face reads as disappointed and frustrated, but he admits defeat, saying that his ex makes those decisions. The three argue about the scenario and the brothers storm off. Corey storms off. Sam takes a bite of his own home-cooked meal and almost vomits.
Okay, so hold on. In the conversation with Mr. Bateman and the doctors, when Jimmy's building the structure and they're talking about putting him into a home, she asks him a series of questions, like if he goes to the river or if he tries to contact his brothers.
Yeah.
I was confident they said no. And then in the next scene, Corey's like, yeah, we saw him.
We saw Jimmy.
When?
I don't know. There are other questions the doctor asks, too, that just seem out of place. And I was reading more trivia, and apparently they were trying to imply that Jimmy was autistic to a certain degree. But then the producers decided they didn't want to have that connotation in the movie.
Yeah, I think the trauma's already enough.
Yeah. What do you think about Corey and Nick for Fred Savage and Christian Slater? I actually kind of believe them as brothers.
Yeah, they have a good chemistry. Unfortunately, the material does not do it justice.
Oh, it's trash. But they do the best they can with it. I think Beau Bridges does, too. Like, this seems like a somewhat complicated family. A believable.
As flawed as Sam is, he's a pretty entertaining character.
Oh, he's a great character. He himself, standalone, not very realistic. But the way he interacts with his kids, yeah. Outside, Corey and Nick argue more, Corey blaming him for not caring about their little half-brother. Later, Corey's laying in bed listening to Nick and Sam scream at each other, which seems to be a pretty common occurrence, and a believable acting job on both of their parts.
Oh, it was very well done.
Yeah, it was almost uncomfortable. It was so precise. Corey pulls out a piece of paper with Jimmy's address written on it. He sits up and casually tosses darts at a map of the U.S. hanging on his wall. Displeased with the first few hits, Corey is rather pleased when he randomly hits California. Now, I just assumed at this point he was trying to run away and didn't know where to go.
That's what I took it as.
I also find it weird that he's super stoked about California and that's where Jimmy keeps trying to go. Like, is this where he's putting two and two together? Like, he wants to run away. He's unhappy with where Jimmy is and he knows Jimmy wants to go there. So that's the plan.
I don't think they thought that deeply about it, man.
I know. I was trying to, though. Otherwise, it just seems like a coincidence, but it can't be because it was a thought-out script somebody had written.
There's a lot of problems with this movie.
Well, he takes the bus to the institution in Utah where Jimmy now lives and abducts his brother incredibly easily. He just sneaks in. No locks anywhere. All the doors are open. His brother's just sitting on a chair watching television. He helps Jimmy up, and they leave. He agrees to take Jimmy to California, and they stow away in the back of a hostess van, leaving the institution.
Okay, if Jimmy is constantly trying to escape, or
leave the doors unlocked, by all means.
Like, he did not need Corey to escape this facility. I guess maybe Corey just caught him between escapes.
Locks don't exist in this world. The van wasn't even locked.
No, not to mention that the van makes multiple stops, I guess.
Yeah.
But the final stop it makes with them in the back.
Yeah, he would have seen them.
Exactly. He goes in to do the delivery and you can hear in the background like, oh, it's my final stop. And it's like, where's the product that you took in coming from? If it was the back of this very small truck, you should have seen two kids eating the food.
And it's not like there are boxes in there. Every time he stops to make a delivery, he's carrying a single like silver grated tray with confections on it. Or confectionaries. I don't know, whatever. Treats. So he can see through all of this.
He just doesn't give a shit.
No. And going back to what I was saying about locks, even that important building at the end of the movie is unlocked. There's no one there. There's plenty of things inside that can be stolen, but the door's open.
Yeah.
Anyway. A panic meeting is held where Sam, Nick, and the Batemans argue over what to do about the missing boys. The police are on the lookout, and the Batemans have taken it upon themselves to hire somebody to find Jimmy. Bateman states they're only looking for Jimmy, not Corey, because he was the one who wanted to run away in the first place.
As opposed to Jimmy, who has a history of doing this. Clearly, he's doing it accidentally.
Yeah. Yep. Sam storms off, and Nick gets in a good jab telling Bateman he always knew he was a jerk, but he thought it was just guilt by association.
Mic drop. It's like the most severe insult they could put in this kid-friendly movie.
And Slater, again, is awesome here, man.
Oh, he's so good.
In one line of dialogue, the Jack Nicholson clone steals the scene.
Yeah.
We really need to cover more Christian Slater on here. I'm going to get on that.
I mean,
Outside,
you do pick the movies for
most times.
The most part.
I almost picked Cuffs for next week, but I didn't. So get ready. That might happen in the near future.
Oh, I'm concerned or excited based on whatever the reaction should be to this movie I've never heard of.
Yeah, I remember liking it a lot as a kid, so I'm sure it's awful. Anyway, outside, Sam says he's going to find the boys. The hired hand, Mr. Putnam, tells Sam that he makes his money by bringing kids in, and if someone else doesn't, he doesn't get paid. So stay out of his way. But this does not deter the father and son.
Nor should it.
No, really. Like, this guy is the least intimidating person in the world and was second in line to play Luke Skywalker after Mark Hamill.
No.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe, too.
So the last time Jimmy ran away, they had a police airplane. This time, they have Mr. Putnam.
And the police, though. The police are on the lookout.
Bit of a downgrade here.
Yeah. Putnam sucks.
So bad.
At the last stop on the delivery line, Corey and Jimmy exit the hostess van and continue their journey. When it rains, they hide in phone booths. If there's a hill, they'll hop on Corey's skateboard. They eventually catch a ride with a passing truck and enter the local convenience store/bus station. Corey gives Jimmy money to play Double Dragon and proceeds to buy tickets to Los Angeles. Sadly, with only $27.30, they can't afford the $226 tickets. And Haley, a young girl played by Jenny Lewis, is in the station, is watching the ordeal. A police car pulls up to the pumps and the boys hide, but not before Corey notices that Jimmy hit a score of 50,000 in Double Dragon. And I don't know how that point system works, because he's only been playing for a few minutes.
He also started playing during the intro cutscene.
That's a very good point. I completely forgot about that.
He starts smacking the buttons like he's playing. And in typical, cinematic fashion, they're always hitting buttons way faster or in a pattern that would not coincide with the game at all. But the shot that it goes to of the game is the very first scene where the villain captures the girl.
Yeah.
That you don't control because Jimmy or Billy didn't come out of the house yet, or building.
Yeah.
And he's just mashing away.
50,000 points.
Yeah, well.
Haley finds the boys hiding in the back room and calls them out on running from the police.
Can you call it hiding?
They were standing in a back room.
They were standing with their backs to the aisle, like somehow that was gonna mask their presence. And they were still talking quite, audibly. You are bad at this.
About the points.
Yep.
We're led to believe they're terrified of the police at this point, or at least Corey is. They don't want to get caught. But yeah, they do almost absolutely nothing to hide themselves.
No.
Well, Haley is also shocked at Jimmy scoring the game. And Corey says Jimmy can beat her at the game, and she agrees. On the line is money from Haley's bus ticket. Now, I don't know where this kid is going, but if her ticket can get the two boys to California, is she going to like northern Canada?
I think the idea was because they asked the guy, what can $27.60 get us?
And he said nothing.
Nothing, but he follows up with like, oh, you need at least, I forget, it was like
$40.
Yeah, something to get to Utah. So maybe the idea was, okay, we'll get to Utah and go from there.
They're in Utah.
Well, I'm out of options.
Yeah, because Jimmy does win the bet, but the bus leaves before Corey can buy their tickets, leaving the three of them stranded in Utah. Nick and Sam are in pursuit, almost hitting another car while Sam is looking at a map and cramming donuts in his mouth. This is a little bit too stupid for this character.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the smartest guy in the world, but this is almost dumb comedy.
Yeah.
No, scratch that. It is dumb comedy.
I did like how Christian Slater woke up only to inform his dad, you've been driving the wrong way all night.
Yet, Sam also says he stopped repeatedly to ask for directions.
Somehow Christian Slater slept through the door of the car, opening and closing 50 times.
Yep. In a diner, Haley comes up with the idea that they should use Jimmy to scam other video game players. She also points out that Jimmy could avoid being put in a home if they enter him in a video game contest called Video Armageddon. I don't know how she thinks this is possible.
There's only
it
one
shows
of two
that he
ways.
has. If we can prove he has hand-eye coordination, they'll just leave him alone.
The other implication being that perhaps it's because he won them a bunch of money. But if you look at how Bateman acts, money does not seem to be a concern anyway.
No, not at all. And there's no thought about the fact that he's going to be on national television.
Was it televised?
I believe it was televised.
Yeah, I don't know that part.
Okay. Her proposition, she'll help them get to California, and when Jimmy wins the contest, they split the money.
Seems like a fair deal, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Putnam arrives in town, heads into a diner, and provides a waitress with photos of the kids, asking if she's seen them. He then notices the Woods truck parked across the street and stabs two of the tires. Sam and Nick chase after him, and Putnam flees to his car. Sam catches up to him, and Putnam waves the smallest pocket knife I've ever seen in my life in Sam's face. But he doesn't really wave it so much as he, like...
shows it to him.
Yeah, he kind of, like...
Yeah, I got a
wiggles,
knife.
he wiggles it at him, and Sam spins around and runs back. I thought it was, like, him fleeing in terror. But it turns out he's running back to his truck to get a shovel.
That's a smart move. I'd take the shovel over that little knife.
And then runs back and beats the shit out of the front of Putnam's car, smashing off one of the side mirrors. And as Putnam speeds away, Sam launches the shovel like a javelin. That's a lot of anger right there.
Yeah, I like how Putnam is also speeding away, saying, I'm going to sue you, and calling him classless.
Oh, yeah.
Coming from the guy who started the day by stepping two of his tires.
Haley, Jimmy, and Corey are hitching a ride in the back of a truck carrying cows. The driver looks back through the window and sees Haley counting their money. The truck pulls over, and the truckers rob the kids and ditch them on the side of the road. Maybe one of the most realistic parts of the movie.
Delinquent farmers were nice enough to give these kids a ride and won't mug them unless they have money. But if Haley wasn't showing any cash, they would have just gotten a ride. So there's a clear line to when these farmers become delinquents.
And it doesn't make sense for the amount of money that they're stealing. Like, if the kids went to the police, I'm pretty sure there aren't a lot of trucks driving around with a bunch of cows in the back. The kids know what these two guys look like. They know what the truck looks like. They will know exactly how much money that the farmers took from them.
I don't know about these kids, but if I was to be robbed like that, so to speak,
yeah,
the first thing I'm doing as it's driving away is trying to memorize the license plate number. Right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll grab a stick on the dirt road and jot it down if I have to. But
Yeah, it's so weird and so out of the blue.
But I mean, again, I can't stress enough that the farmers were fine just being nice and giving them a ride until they saw $80.
Oh yeah, that changed everything. At a service station, Sam tries to get new tires for the truck. During this, Nick fixes an old NES he found in the truck and is playing Super Mario 2. Sam knows nothing about video games.
Neither does Nick either.
True, but he knows how to fix an old Nintendo.
Maybe he just didn't fix the light that illuminates when the power is on.
Oh, that's the same at the video game championships.
Oh yeah.
None of those are on.
Yeah, I know. Again, I go back to this was made by people who didn't know video games. The most basic of things, like having the power button down to make it look like you're actually playing.
Oh yeah, well, at the junkyard, I think you know what I'm referencing. Like, we see even more that they don't understand how video game consoles work.
No, not at all.
No. We get some wicked 80s pan flute over a scene where we see the kids have hitched a ride to the nearest town. Haley demands the $4 Corey hid in his underwear, and the new plan is to use it to scam old men playing arcade games. Now, this is where I started thinking that this is a child version of Rain Man. Specifically the scene where Tom Cruise takes Dustin Hoffman to the casino because he's good at counting cards.
Sure.
They're just conning people at this point.
Yeah.
They're basically robbing them, so they're no better than the farmers.
The thing is, though, are they conning them? It's not like they're saying anything ahead of time like, oh, we're not that good. They flat out say, yeah, he's good. Let's make a bet. It's pretty straightforward.
I guess.
They're gambling, but they're not conning anybody.
They're definitely gambling. Yeah. A child boast, though, never really seems that serious. So it's almost like they think they're good, but they never are as good as they say they are.
I'm just saying, man, a con requires some sort of deception. They're very forward with it.
I guess.
Quick question.
What?
What game were the adults playing in the bar where they bet them? The salesman.
Don't know, don't care.
Because they weren't.
Okay.
They strategically put the poster on the side of the arcade machine where a graphic would be. And the music they played was the winning chime when you beat a level of the original Super Mario Brothers. But they intentionally keep it because they don't actually want to show us video games in this.
Oh, I had no idea. Also, I didn't hear that sound at all.
Yeah, it's when the two salesmen are talking. You can hear it in the background.
Yeah, they do seem incredibly offended when they're told that Jimmy can beat them.
Well, go on.
Yeah.
That one salesman got right into it.
They spend the night in a junkyard, and Haley reminisces of how she and her father spent lots of nights in places like this. Corey asks if she has friends, and she becomes incredibly defensive. And then he tries to scare her by putting on a skeleton mask, to which she just punches him out.
Okay, I laughed at that moment.
Really? Because I was sitting there thinking, what a weird thing to bring on an abduction road trip.
Oh, not at him putting on the mask. That was weird. But like how she says, I don't get afraid, and he tries to scare her, and her reaction is to not be afraid at all and just clock him. Yeah. I laughed. Like
even his reaction was really good.
It's like, well, that backfired on you, moron.
Haley reveals that she bought game magazines to help teach Jimmy tricks to help him at games. A bunch of bikers show up, and the kids hitch a ride with them somehow. We get more wicked 80s rock, like Send Me an Angel 89. The soundtrack to this movie is actually pretty good, I have to say. Minus the Backstreet Boys song that was playing in the diner earlier. It's a pretty solid soundtrack.
It's interesting that you would call them Backstreet Boys like a decade before they were a band.
Oh yeah, Backstreet Boys. That's right.
It was New Kids on the
New
Block.
Kids on the Block.
It was the 80s.
I know. I don't. They're all fucking same to me, man. I'm sorry if I offended you in your boy band knowledge.
Just saying, man.
I think I referred to them as Backstreet Boys again later in these notes.
Do they play a second time?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, I remember the first time, but I whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I would love to see the conversation that led to the bikers giving them a ride.
Well, that's just it, because they pull up and stop at the kids. So I'm thinking, did I miss something? Was there a reference that, like, because Haley always talks about how, like, she knows people, or her father knows people. So I'm like, did I miss somewhere where she dropped a line that she knows a bunch of bikers and they'll give them a ride?
I mean,
No.
It almost looked like there was concern on their faces. I thought they were going to get robbed again.
Yeah. It came out of nowhere. It didn't make any sense. I mean, fine. I also don't know bikers that would just stop and pick up 3 children that have, like, no supervision around them whatsoever. That's almost abduction, I would say.
It's literally a scene that existed just to give you that visual.
Yeah. Well, this leads to a montage of the kids hitching rides across the country, all while Nick, Sam, and Putnam are searching for them.
So clearly they've learned the lesson not to flash any cash when they're getting a ride.
Oh, yeah. This is another spot here where I have some issues. And this is horrible editing. And it's a scene where the kids are in the back of the pickup truck with a family.
Okay.
The old man says hello to Jimmy, who also says hi. Now, the odd part here is that this is the same old man who was in the back of the truck when they got out of it earlier in the movie. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, by no means did I notice that.
Yeah, because I noticed the shirt. Because the first time they hitched a ride in the back of a pickup truck, I noticed the old man's shirt. And then here we are later on, and they're meeting each other for the first time.
You couldn't even change the shirt on the actor? Come on.
I just wonder, like, how did nobody else notice this? Like, the editors, there's a job. There is a specific job for continuity. I don't know. Anyway, in the truck, they pass Putnam, who yells at them to turn the music down, and then continues shaving his face while he's on the side of the road.
He's such a garbage human.
He sucks. Yeah. The kids try to rip off a group of teens in a diner, but it turns sour. They're saved by server Beth Grant, who is in every movie ever. A random kid tells them that Jimmy's good, but he could never beat Lucas. Now, I remember Lucas being kind of badass when I first saw this movie. Or I'll say when I last saw it, which was probably like 1990.
Your memory failed you, sir.
Did it ever? This kid sucks. They track down the almighty Lucas, who is attempting to dress as the most late 80s badass kid of all time and looks absolutely ridiculous.
Can we go back to the diner for a second?
Sure.
I was so happy to see Beth Grant.
I know, right?
And then the moment was over. So
Gone.
fast. Just
so
gone.
fast.
And then this guy who tells them about Lucas. What exactly is he doing there? Just sits at a table and tells people that go by the arcade machine that people like, oh, he's good, but he's not as good as Lucas.
Yeah. Well, they see him sitting at a table by himself again later in the movie. That's his thing. He just sits at the table.
Doesn't get food or
no
anything.
And like the only reason I could think of is that he's waiting for his mom to finish work. I thought he would have been like Beth Grant's son.
I was just about to say that. All they needed to do is when Beth Grant was leaving, like she turns to the kid and like, you know, like keep working on your homework, I'll be done soon type thing. Boom.
Yeah.
Covered it.
Yeah. Or even be like, whatever your name is, get your stupid friends out of here. Just showing that she at least knows who one of them are. Or is. Lucas boasts that he has 97 Nintendo games, and Jimmy can challenge him at any of them. We then get the unveiling of the Power Glove.
No. Hold on. he first shows them his travel case of about 12 video games.
Mm-hmm.
And says, pick any one of them. I'm good at all of them. I have 97.
Yeah.
So where's the rest of them, dude?
Probably has more cases.
Is this the case? Is this like your, like, what do you call it, ringer case? These are the ones that you're the best at? Strategically take them with you?
Could be. Well, it seems like wherever they are, he's set up pretty well there. So I'm assuming that's where he just keeps his games. The whole Power Glove thing is stupid. Like, I don't think Nintendo really had a lot to do with this movie, did they? Other than they might have given them some money. But unveiling the Power Glove in a movie, you'd think they would have at least put their name on it somewhere, right?
Maybe.
I don't remember seeing it at all. Anyway, none of these kids have seen the Power Glove before. And Lucas loves the Power Glove.
So
it's so bad.
Even just the visual of them opening the case that has his name on it, I'm like, that's like a label maker sticker with his name on it. You couldn't even like engrave or put a plaque on it, make it look more fancy. This thing is shit.
Yep.
And then he powers up the Power Glove, and it makes sound effects that the Power Glove does not make.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
At all.
Also, the Power Glove is a piece of shit that never really worked in the first place.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the worst peripherals that has ever been released. It just does not work.
Well, there's worse.
But that I've ever used then.
Fair. But the biggest inaccuracy in this entire movie when it comes to video games is that he's actually able to use the Power Glove.
It never fucking works.
Never.
It doesn't. And you're going to use it on Rad Racer? I don't fucking think so. That's never going to happen.
You're better off taking the Power Glove off your hand and just using it as a controller.
And just spinning it around your head by the cord will be just as effective. Power Glove really is bad.
Yes, that's the irony of that statement. He loves the Power Glove. It's so bad, which obviously late 80s slang for that it's good. But in this case, you should take it quite literally.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's so bad.
Yeah, today's standards. I love the Power Glove. It's garbage.
Yeah, if they remade the movie, it would be some hipster who's just saying it ironically.
Yeah. Corey urges Jimmy to show them what he can do, but Jimmy wants none of it and walks off. So, Lucas lets them know that he's headed to the championships too.
So when does Jimmy all of a sudden not want it? I'm confused why he walks away.
Oh, I don't know. They even later tell him, like, it's okay, you only lost one game. I'm like, he didn't fucking play. What game did he lose?
You're trying to think, like, why did he walk away? Was it the pressure of the situation? Dude was playing video games for money earlier.
Yeah. And, like, I get it if he has cold feet because he's intimidated by a guy who claims to know how to play 97 Nintendo games and has some weird peripheral that no one's ever seen that he can use very well. But that doesn't mean he lost any game because he never played one.
Yo, dude. If Lucas can actually get the Power Glove to work properly, he's probably winning every competition.
Oh, I would have quit too. I wouldn't want to play it against him.
I mean, you actually got that thing to work? Yeah, you're amazing. I quit.
Here's my money. Sam and Nick are spending the night in the shittiest motel I've ever seen. Nick has a heart-to-heart with his father, letting him know that he's happy to be there and how he has the best memories of their old trips to California. Again, California. Sam shrugs it off, and Nick has a breakdown. He goes to get the newly fixed Nintendo to calm himself down. Sam asks if the game he's playing, or what the game he's playing is. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Sam says it doesn't take any intelligence to play that thing, and Nick says, you should know.
How?
That makes no sense. And the weirdest part about that is that Sam, like, knowingly laughs. And I was just confused the whole time.
You should know is a statement that would be made if Sam also played these games.
Right.
How would he know if he's never played them before?
I don't know.
All right, then.
There's a lot of problems with this movie. I wouldn't say, like, massive problems that would make you hate it, but it's a very problematic film.
Yeah. But there was no problem in Christian Slater's delivery here. When he goes out in his underwear to get the Nintendo out of the truck, and he's kind of ranting aloud about how he can't have a conversation with his dad, might have been one of the best delivered scenes in the entire movie.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Slater knocks it out of the park, like most times. The next morning, Nick wakes up to his father frantically playing Nintendo, and Sam is now a video game addict. I think Beau Bridges did a really good job of an adult playing a video game for the first time. Or at least really getting into it, to the point where, like, he's physically jumping around and, like, moving the controller and, like, following the screen with his entire body instead of just his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that. I thought it was pretty honest. No?
Sure.
You sound like you doubt it.
I'm just waiting for one day any sort of cinematic experience to portray playing a video game accurately.
Oh, I know. I've done that before.
What do you mean?
Like, I've moved around while playing a video game before.
Oh, yeah. But even in this, he's tapping the buttons at such a pace that it's not going to correspond with anything that's actually happening in the game.
All right. Well, we've already determined this isn't for video game fans.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's not a problem isolated to this movie. I've yet to see really a TV show or a movie where they show someone playing a video game and they're not going ape shit on the controller. Like, if they were playing like Mario Party or something, sure. But it's like the people making the cinematic experience feel like it's not enough action to just show somebody pressing buttons. They got to be just wailing on them.
Well, then you should definitely rewatch the opening to In the Army Now with Pauly Shore and Andy Dick.
Man, I haven't seen that movie since I was much younger.
Yeah, the opening scene of the movie, they're in the electronics store playing 3DO.
Okay.
Anyway, Corey and Haley wake up on the floor of an old shack at an abandoned drive-in theater and notice that Jimmy is missing. They find him outside building a wall out of empty popcorn buckets. Corey freaks and knocks everything down, telling his little brother not to be upset about losing the game, which we already covered. He did not play. It turns out that Jimmy is jealous over how much attention Corey is giving Haley. The two older kids argue. She brings up how Corey treated her like property in front of Lucas and is about to walk away until she spots a truck full of the kids from the arcade heading their way, and they want their money back. One of the teens grabs Jimmy's lunchbox and dumps it out on the ground. Corey gives the teens their money, and they steal Jimmy's hat before running off. It turns out that Jimmy's lunchbox is filled with photos and belongings of his twin sister, Jennifer, who drowned. The death shattered the family, and after that, Jimmy was never the same. A really weird, dark part of the story that isn't mentioned before this, or after even, is that Nick was supposed to be watching the kids by the water, and wasn't. He stopped paying attention to them, and his little sister died. I think showing Nick's guilt might have been too heavy for the movie, but what potential for character development.
I mean, it definitely explains the fractured relationship between him and his dad.
But it doesn't really seem like their relationship is that fractured, other than they argue over Jimmy a lot. Like, they seem to be fine with one another. It's that they don't like the decisions made about Jimmy's future.
I mean, I'm not saying it's done well, but even if you think back to the hotel room when Christian Slater is doing his little rant, he's saying,
yeah,
I can't even talk to you.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not saying it's done well, but I think that's the idea behind it.
Well, if that is the idea, it's poorly done.
Oh. Yeah.
Corey decides that they have to go home, and Haley calls him a quitter and admits that she wanted him to like her in the first place. Jimmy stops Corey and says that he doesn't want to quit, and the kids rejoice, and now we're back on track. It was a weird lull in the movie that didn't really need to happen, but okay. Putnam arrives at the arcade and threatens a kid to tell him whether or not he knows where the kids are. Leaving the arcade, Putnam's car is backing out of the parking space when Sam and Nick T-bone it. The Woods ram the car again, and on the third attempt, Putnam comes out on top, backing into the truck and rendering it useless.
So Putnam's tactic for finding lost children is to bully other children?
Yeah.
How is this guy not arrested?
He's such a creep.
Such a creep.
Also, I'm pretty sure Sam's just crazy.
I mean, he does say, like, you make your money off of children, you should be, I forget what he says, shot or put in prison, but...
Yeah, but keep in mind, too, that Putnam flattened 2 of his tires and wiggled a pocket knife at him. So Sam destroyed the front of Putnam's car with a shovel and then smashed the side mirror and threw the shovel at the back window of the car. And now, just upon seeing him, rams the car 3 times with his truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's the problem?
That's multiple cases of attempted murder.
Yeah, I mean, but it's justified because Putnam tried to wave a butter knife at him.
Yeah, and he honestly, Putnam's just doing his job. I mean, he's doing it like a shithead, but he's a bounty hunter, and he's doing what he's paid to do.
Yeah, but he's not paid to pop 2 tires from the dad who's just trying to find his own son.
Yeah, but he's trying to find his son, and, well, I guess, yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying Putnam's a good guy. I'm just saying he is trying to do his job, and he doesn't want anyone to take his money away.
Mm-hmm.
Still, though, attempted murder is pretty rough. Anyway, somehow the kids arrive in Reno. Haley gives a trucker named Spanky. Do you recognize Spanky?
No.
Okay, well, she gives Spanky their money to gamble and gives him gambling advice while doing so. They win a big $400. Spanky's played by Frank McRae, who was the lieutenant from Last Action Hero.
Oh, yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
We next get a really cool look at the Nintendo gameplay hotline. I really enjoyed this scene a lot. Haley's called in to get all of the tips for the games Jimmy might have to play at Video Armageddon. And I was always curious about these hotlines, where you could call in and get tips and tricks on how to beat certain parts of games. I really hope this was a real representation because I think it looks pretty cool. People playing games, having stashes of cookies around their desks, binders full of codes and tips and whatnot. A wicked, like, pre-internet business.
Yeah.
Did you ever use any of those hotlines?
No.
No, me neither. I was too afraid that it would cost a lot of money, but I always wanted to call and be like, "Can you help me with Castlevania?"
Just thinking about, like, the pre-internet era of, like, he's just getting stacks of binders. I found really odd because nowadays you just type something into a knowledge base and there you go, right? Yeah, totally. I thought it was really fun though, and I looked into the casting, and the guy that plays, his name's Rick, who works at this hotline. This is his only acting role ever. Oh,
which is weird because I thought he was great. So I'm wondering if maybe he was just a friend, or maybe he actually worked for one of those hotlines. Anyway, we get a montage of Jimmy getting better at games. Rick at Nintendo Gameplay is earning his wages, flipping through every binder he has, like you had mentioned. Putnam calls Christine from a phone booth, telling her that her ex is crazy and needs to get paid more for dealing with him.
So
just that, yeah.
Does Rick, was it? Does Rick work 24/7?
Seems to be.
Because this montage is meant to be like, oh, we have 3 days to get him trained. And Rick's there the entire time. It's like, dude, go home. Your shift is over.
He seems really into it, though.
Yeah. And I love how in movies, kids can win $400 and that will somehow cover multiple days in Reno.
Yeah. I do like the fact, though, that Spanky got kicked out of the casino because he was helping kids gamble.
Yes, and his reward was $10.
$10.
Another problem with this montage is when Jimmy's playing and Corey's like flaunting his money or whatever, and he tells the stewardess or the waitress or whatever you want to call her to keep the change. Why is there a child working?
Oh, I didn't even pay attention. That's weird.
Like, it's not an adult that he buys it from.
I have no idea. I have to go back and watch that, and honestly, I'm not going to.
It's like, is there no minimum age for children to work in Reno? I guess.
Not in Reno. It's
No.
a filthy city. Just then, Sam and Nick arrive. Luckily for Putnam, the Woods boys don't see him, and he hires a tow truck to haul their pickup away while they're inside the truck stop. Nick glances over and sees a teen sitting in a booth wearing Jimmy's hat, the same teen we were talking about before. He walks over and demands to know where he got it. He says a couple of kids who owed him some money. It just so happens that Lucas is at the diner and offers up info on where the kids went. Sam and son exit the diner in time to see the tow truck hauling their truck down the highway. I also love how Christian Slater just kind of stares at the kid who then gives the hat back.
So, they get out of their truck and go into the diner. Putnam pays a tow truck driver who was parked and sitting in his truck next to where they got out of their truck $50 to take the truck away.
Yep.
In the next scene at the, I don't know, impound, whatever you want to call it, the guy says, "Oh, I didn't check. He said it was his." Did you not see the two guys get out of the truck 30 seconds prior?
Yeah, really though.
It's not like you show the truck driver coming out of the bathroom, like zipping up his fly or something right after they go into the diner and, oh, I didn't know. He's sitting in the truck.
Yeah. Honestly though, like, none of that makes sense. Just like it doesn't make any sense how he's already almost completely stripped the truck down.
No, well, I mean, he doesn't mess around, right? Like, he gets a truck,
Apparently
he starts
not.
stripping it right away.
Let's see, where was I? I'm sorry.
You
Putnam-
shouldn't be sorry. The movie should be sorry.
The movie is sorry. It's a definite sorry piece of shit movie. Putnam informs Christine about where the kids are headed. Sam and Nick find out their truck has been junked, and this is where they go. Somehow Putnam knows the kids are in Reno, which is...
This was such a problem to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of just assumptions going on in this movie.
He gets off the phone telling Christine they're headed to the video game competition in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, yeah.
But somehow knows the kids are in Reno.
Yeah, and goes to the casino to look for them. The casino, because there's only one in Reno. I don't think so.
No, based on the conversation he had with Christine, he would have gotten in his car and started driving to Los Angeles.
Yeah. Well, I think this whole thing happens because next he tries a pool where he questions an employee at a sales counter. And this whole setup, I think, is just to show us the old wrinkly dude in the green Speedo.
I thought it was a blue Speedo.
Oh, it was green on my screen. It was disturbing. I don't know why he was there. I don't know what he was doing there.
He was one of the producers of the movie, and he's like, "Listen, I will help you fund this, but I want..."
Yeah.
It's like, all right, let's get you to wardrobe. No. I got it covered.
Yeah. I don't know. Because, like, you can't take your eyes off that wrinkly old dude. Like, everything going on screen outside of that, I don't know. It may as well just be frozen still, because that is one of the most horrific things I have ever seen, and I could not take my eyes away.
It is pretty horrific.
Anyway, it turns out that Putnam is in the right spot, because Corey walks by. I don't... Okay. He knows they're in Reno, somehow. He goes to the casino that they were in, because he knows it was that one, somehow. Next, he goes to that resort, like, hotel pool area, and they're there. Somehow. He knew they were there.
Mm-hmm.
None of that makes any sense.
No.
So many questions, but at least we get old wrinkly dude.
No, not at least.
Anyway,
You know what would have been better than old wrinkly dude?
no.
Listening to the Knights and Nerds podcast. Let's hear a message from our friend Tim.
Knights and Nerds is not just an actual play D&D podcast with an original campaign being played by a group of friends who tolerate each other. It's also a podcast where I, the Dungeon Master, talk about how I'm adapting to the choices the players make, as well as revealing to you, the audience, the complex story and deadly twists that I have in store for my players. Find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or at knightsandnerds.com.
And we're back.
Putnam grabs Corey as he's walking by and finds that Jimmy's in the arcade. He runs in, picks up Jimmy, and tries to leave, but Corey and Haley run in and sick the cops on him as Haley screams, "He touched my breast," and points at Putnam.
I mean, Putnam makes a very good statement. She doesn't even have breasts.
Those cops just pounce.
Well, I mean, can you blame them?
But also, like, she's pointing at a guy saying that guy just touched her breast. And the guy who she's accusing is trying to carry off another child.
I was going to say, like, his method when he finds a kid is not to just be like, yeah, let's not cause a scene, come with me. No, he just scoops him up,
violently hoists him off the ground and tries to, like, storm off with a child.
Yep.
The kids regroup and run off, jump in a taxi, and go to a trailer in the desert. Haley, embarrassed, tells the boys that this is her home. Back at the junkyard, Sam has hooked up the Nintendo again and is now a full-on gaming junkie. So apparently, even though they stripped down the truck that the Nintendo was in, they still managed to find the Nintendo. Nick puts a stop to this session by pulling out the controller cord, which somehow cuts the video feed to the television, and Sam is pissed. I was pissed too at that.
You have no idea.
And it gets worse too, because Nick grabs the console, walks away, and tells his father to get in the car. But why would you leave the RF modulator behind attached to the TV? Those aren't cheap, at least not in the 80s, and you need it to connect the console to the TV.
No, apparently the controller manages the video feed.
It's the basics. It's the most simplistic video game system to hook up.
You know where else there's wires he could have pulled out to make that dramatic statement? In the back. Mm-hmm. Just pull out the power cable. There you go.
Yep. It's really stupid.
It'd be the exact same scene. He's just pulling cables out of the other side of it.
I'm not even that big of a gamer, and I was offended by that.
I mean, it's lazy. It's not like you're expecting the people making this movie to know all this stuff about the actual video games. But like the basic fundamentals, if you're trying to pass it off as a video game movie, is to figure out how the console works.
And I was thinking too that I know Christian Slater wasn't super young, but I kind of figured he would have had some experience with video games in his day. Not the case, it turns out.
Apparently not.
No, honestly, he and Beau Bridges were never into video games at all, and then started playing them for the movie, and then both got super hooked eventually. Now, that was the excuse. My question then is, did they have somebody set everything up and take everything apart for them? Because that's the only way you could still get away with this, and not one of them being like, it doesn't work that way.
It would take one time to use the console to discover that it doesn't work that way.
You think even somebody on the film crew would be like, no.
We're dwelling on this too much.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Haley and Corey have a heart-to-heart on the AstroTurf lawn of the roof of the trailer. She comes clean about her lies of growing up in riches and that her family was far from perfect. She always wanted to find a house for her and her father, and Corey tells her it's exactly like the Adventures of Link. Adventure of Link. Even I caught that. I was like, singular, man. He has to find Zelda. Haley has to find a house. That doesn't go over well. Corey goes in for a kiss and she face palms him. She says she'll never kiss a boy. He responds, a girl, maybe? To which she calls him a smartass and then kisses him, and the two sit in awkward silence.
Do I correct the video game issue here, or do I just let it go?
Go for it.
So, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, which you had correct in the title. The very first thing you see in the game is Zelda laid up behind you. You're not trying to like rescue her. You're trying to revive her. You don't have to go looking for her. She's right there.
Yep.
And I don't know how it's sexist to say that her quest is much like this male's quest to save somebody. There's no gender definition in either of these roles. But okay.
Problems. The next morning, the kids wake up to find Putnam abducting Jimmy. The man shoves the boy in the car and speeds down the dirt road.
Okay, there is no part of anything we've seen in this movie thus far that makes me believe that Putnam can be silent or stealthy.
And again, he somehow knows exactly where the girl lives.
Well, he did call...
Oh, that's right. He needed an address.
But here's the thing. How did he know Haley's name?
Good question.
Because he calls, I don't know what it would be, I guess 411 or White Pages or something to get. You know, and you can hear his side of the conversation. He's like, oh, there's 3 of them. What I really need is an address. I'll take all 3, right? You assume he went to 3 addresses to try and find it. Whatever. Okay, he stumbled upon the right one. But my question is, how did he know Haley's name?
I don't know. And like, we rip on Putnam for being a piece of shit, which he is. But for being a bounty hunter, he's pretty good at staying on the trail.
Well, yeah, when you don't actually need to get clues on where to go and just happen upon
you just
it.
know.
Yeah. I mean, clairvoyancy would make a very good bounty hunter, I guess.
He's such a stupid fucking character. Oh, okay. Oh, God, sorry. Haley questions how much Corey believes in his brother, which he truly does. She goes back into the house to call her, quote, friends. Putnam is driving down the road, belittling Jimmy, and is then ambushed by 4 tractor trailers. The drivers exit the trucks, revealing one to be Spanky. He points at Putnam and asks, so you're the one who touched her breast, huh? And the truckers attack the bounty hunter.
Okay, all right. I feel like this is kind of a pattern right now. As you say something and I say what's wrong with it.
Yeah, go for it. Just saying what happened in the movie, man.
She asks Corey, how much do you believe in your brother? And he says that he believes in him. Would the answer have changed the outcome if he said no?
Yeah.
How much do you believe in him? I don't know.
Not at all. Not at all.
All right, well, then let Putnam take him. Like, this is what you don't want to just call the truckers for the purpose of saving Jimmy? Like, okay.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Putnam is
I do love how they beat him down. I thought they were like, we're seriously going to beat the shit out of him. I feel really bad that the next time we see Putnam, he's just sitting on a curb outside of 7-Eleven using a Slurpee to ice a black eye.
Just one black eye? 4 truckers rolling up their sleeves like they're going to beat him to within an inch of his life, and he has one black eye.
Yep. And to their knowledge, he has touched a minor and has abducted another one, and they punch him in the eye once. That guy would be tied to the front of my truck, and I would be speeding down the highway. Spanky is driving the kids to the video game championships, and looks like he has no idea how to drive a truck because he's just jerking the wheel left and right.
It's like someone playing a video game in the movie. Clearly the director doesn't know how to direct any sort of physical actions.
They arrive at Video Armageddon at Universal Studios.
Oh, can we also point out that Spanky is saying how he's going to get in trouble for taking the truck?
Yep. Well, I mean, I picked up on this and then I read it in trivia as well. That's Sylvester Stallone's truck from Over the Top. It still has his character's name painted on the door. Hawk. So I think it might have been an in-joke that it's the truck from another movie.
Oh, okay.
At Universal Studios, there's a weird knockoff Mickey Mouse mascot named Andy Panda hugging children. And the only other mascot we see is Dracula wandering through the crowd.
No, there was a Frankenstein's monster was also...
Later, but he wasn't in that courtyard. The only two mascots that were in the entrance was Mickey Mouse knockoff and Dracula.
Okay, I thought you meant in general.
No. There's also Wolfman later on, too. Obviously, Universal classic monsters, right? They approach the registration counter, and the amazing Lee Ehrenberg informs them that they'll be playing Ninja Gaiden.
Man, if there's one guy who threw himself into this role, especially for such a minor role.
He always does that, man. Always. He always plays nameless characters, and he's always the one guy who's, like, giving it his 100%.
I liked him.
He was great. He even looked at the camera, and I was okay with it. But do you remember him from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies?
No.
Do you remember the two bumbling pirates? One with, like, the wooden eye or glass eye, and then the shorter, stout one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the shorter, stout one.
Now that you mention it, yeah. Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind was the couple episodes of Seinfeld he did.
Yeah, he was also in one of my favorite episodes of Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, nice.
The contest itself looks pretty cool, minus the weird military-like presence of security and the batshit insane host. The kids realize they have to beat contestant 197, whoever that is. Oh, wait, it's Lucas.
I thought it was 169.
No, I'm pretty sure it's... Oh, yeah, it is 169, because Jimmy is what? 490?
4 something.
I don't know. Because I might have gotten that wrong. I'm going to say I'm right for right now. Anybody who knows other can just, eat it. It's time for Jimmy's group to enter the first elimination round. Of course, Little Dude kicks ass and moves on to the finals with Lucas and Maura Grissom. To win the competition, they have to win at a brand new game that nobody has ever played before.
North America.
In North America. Outside, Frankenstein's monster is fucking with Putnam, who has finally made it to the venue. The Batemans have also arrived. Lucas calls out to the Putnam and points at the location of the kids, and a chase ensues.
It's like one of the first, villainous things that Lucas has done.
Yeah. I mean, he's told people where they were going and everything, but he's not only told Putnam. He told Sam and Nick. So he's just trying to fuck with anybody who could potentially beat him at the game. He's not out to punish anybody.
How does he even know that Jimmy could beat him at the game? Jimmy didn't play him. He ran away.
What are you talking about? He lost.
Okay, fine.
I also love...
That sounds like something Lucas should be afraid of.
I love how Frankenstein's monster is just flipping at the back of Putnam's head. Just being a prick, irritating this stranger who's paid money to be there.
Well, yeah, and then Christine and Bateman just show up all casually.
Yeah. They hop on the Universal Studios tour with Putnam hot on their tails. And this part's great, and I think I've never seen it really happen in movies, where the kids are climbing over seats to get away, and all the passengers are actually helping them along. Moving out of the way, grabbing their hands, helping push them ahead to get them to wherever they're going. And some people are just holding Putnam back. I really enjoyed it. I found it oddly heartwarming.
That sounds almost complimentary, man. You better be careful.
Ah, Jesus. It's late. I'm tired. I'm slipping. Sam and Nick spot them on the ride and pursue. The kids escape. Putnam punches out Sam, and Nick tends to his father. I did not expect Putnam to be able to knock out Sam. Well, he didn't knock him out, but he stunned him real good with a really shitty punch. The chase continues behind the scenes at the King Kong section of the ride, and the trio end up above the stage of the game competition. They escape Putnam in an elevator, lowering them down to the game stage just in time to start the new game, Super Mario Bros. 3. I don't know why that elevator would take them down directly there.
I don't know.
It makes no sense. But it did, and now here we are. Sam, Nick, and the Batemans find Corey and Haley in the crowd and join them in cheering Jimmy. One big happy family. Corey says Jimmy needs to find a warp and win this. How does he know that there are warps in the game? Jimmy's in last place, but finds the flute that allows him to warp ahead and eventually wins. And now for some reason we see Putnam, who is also in the crowd, cheering.
I know that kid.
Yeah. I have given up at this point. I've completely given up on this movie.
You made it this far?
Ugh. I don't remember hating it. And I don't. And that's because of what happens next. Everybody's driving home. Jimmy's in the back of the seat. Oh, that's actually kind of funny. The important part happens after this, but I thought this was hilarious. Everybody's driving home. Jimmy's in the backseat of the Bateman's car and leans forward to look out the window. And did you notice what was on the back of his shirt?
There was still the safety pins and the corners of his registration number.
Exactly. Someone just grabbed the paper and just ripped it off his back, and that was enough for them.
I mean, not only that.
Somebody tell me that these are not the worst parents. He's got giant safety pins hanging from his shirt that he's leaning against when he's sitting in the car seat for God knows how long of a ride.
Can I also point out that this is two cars of people that are the most somber people who just watched the kid win $50,000? Yep. And when we see the car with Jimmy for the first time, Bateman says something, I can't remember the exact terminology, but it's something just like, well, that was kind of impressive. And it's like, yeah. It's just won $50,000, man. Even if you're rich, that's a little bit more than just kind of impressive.
Well, what did Jimmy see out the car window?
California.
Giant dinosaur statues for a dino museum off the highway. He repeatedly tries to open the door and is getting agitated and is repeating California. The Batemans pull over and the Woods family follows suit.
So much like when Haley asked Corey how much he believes in him, the Woods are driving and they comment about how the Bateman car has pulled over to the side of the road. And Sam doesn't decide to pull over until Corey's like, what are you doing? Pull over. It's like, were you just going to keep driving?
It'd be great if it was just focused on Corey and the camera turns to look at Sam and he's looking at a map and cramming donuts into his face.
Like, aren't you going to stop? I guess. Freaking kid telling me to stop.
Jimmy jumps out of the car and runs toward one of the dinosaurs, which is impressive because he kept trying to open the door when they were moving and nothing happened. So as soon as the car stops, no problem. That kid just flies out of the back. The confused families run after the boy, still can't catch up with him, and he's a tiny child. He enters an unlocked service door in the tail of a dinosaur and runs up the stairs. They find him in the head of the dinosaur, looking at a picture from inside his lunchbox. A photo of the Woods family taken at that site before the death of Jennifer and Sam and Christine's divorce. Jimmy believed they were in California when the photo was taken and wanted to go back to the last place his sister was happy so he could leave his lunchbox there for her. That almost made me cry.
I didn't need that emotional, heavy moment that almost made me cry.
Right? I was happy making fun of this movie. Yeah. I was making fun of how shitty this movie was, and then they actually made me feel something. And I not only did I feel for like the characters, but I also felt like a fool because they got me. Christine tells Sam Jimmy should drive back with him and the other kids, and they set up for home. Sam and Nick in the cab, Haley, Corey, and Jimmy in the back with no seatbelts whatsoever on a highway. Roll credits.
That was a movie.
That was a movie. The movie I remembered, and not at all the movie I remembered. There was a lot of this that I picked up on as an adult that there's no way I would understand as a child. And there's a lot of this I picked up on as an adult that I don't think I needed to.
Or wanted to.
I don't know, man. How did you feel about it?
I felt like we should go over the numbers.
All right, well, it made money. I don't know if it was because of advertising video games or not. It had a budget of $6 million and brought in $14.3 million. So definitely a profitable movie. The ratings kind of confuse me. It's a 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, I agree with the tomato meter of 29%, but there's an audience score of 60, so pretty much the same as IMDb. Would you agree with any of those ratings?
No.
Do you think it's better than 29%?
No.
It's worse, eh? Oh, okay.
This might have been one of the worst movies I've ever watched.
Oh, shit, really?
I hated this. You said I didn't hate this? I absolutely did.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's near and dear to your love of video games, and they shit all over that culture.
I can even look past that because, again, right, like, I mean, I only watched the first, 2 seasons of Walking Dead, but I can accept the fact that it is being used as an avenue. The video games are not what the movie is about. They are just there to guide things along.
Mm-hmm.
But everything underneath that is terrible as well. So many inaccuracies, so many flaws, plot devices that make no sense. Great casting completely shit away with a terrible movie.
And you were saying there were plot points that didn't do anything. There were also plot points that were missing that would have explained things. This is something that might make more sense. And I think I am going to watch this movie again, even though I said I'm not. Because originally...
Can't get enough of the old man, huh?
Give me more of that green Speedo. This movie is originally 150 minutes long. Or an hour and 50 minutes, sorry. An hour 50. So there was an extra, 11 minutes? And they were told they had to cut it down. And the extended cut is available on Blu-ray. I'm curious to see what was cut out and if that would make the story more cohesive, or at least give us an inkling as to how Putnam knew every time where those fucking kids were.
Well, you go ahead and watch that again, because I'm not.
It's rough. At one point, I remembered that I hated this movie, but I don't know why I thought I did. Maybe when I was a kid, I'm like, this isn't as good as it's supposed to be. As an adult, it's definitely not as good as it's supposed to be. And I think it would have been fun to watch with friends, but on my own, it's pretty shitty. The only good element, I would say, is the acting, for the most part, is top notch. And then that one scene in the dinosaur that really, really was heartfelt. I loved that.
I mean, that scene got me. And it absolutely was heartfelt and probably one of the most powerful scenes.
Yeah. It didn't feel like it felt it belonged in the movie. It didn't feel like it was part of this script.
Exactly. It didn't feel like it belonged to this movie at all.
They took a really well-written scene from another film, like a really, really good drama, and then just crammed it in this shithole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you want to get on to the awards?
Yeah, get this garbage over with.
Worst performance, man, for me, it was pretty easy. And that's because everybody in this movie I thought was really good. So I had to go with Wendy Phillips as Christine. She wasn't bad. She was just bland. Everybody in the movie did a pretty good job. It's just, I don't know if it was a character writing or something, but she just didn't stand out as much as everybody else to me.
Okay. I'm going to be reading Craig's answers that he submitted. I don't have explanations for what they are, so we'll have to take them at face value. But he did submit that the worst performance was Jenny Lewis as Haley.
I can't agree with that.
Well, I can't because it wasn't my choice for worst performance.
Yeah, I wish I knew why that was his choice. I mean, she came across as annoying, but that's how that character was written.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. What was your choice?
Luke Edwards as Jimmy Woods.
I give the kid a pass. He's a child playing a difficult role. I don't think he did a bad job. I think he fit the character really well. Why would you pick him?
I think if I just had to hear him say California one more time, I was going to take a screwdriver to my ears.
Yeah, that is pretty fucking frequent. It got very annoying.
Honestly, I feel like it would have been better if he just said it in a regular voice at a regular tone. Just very, I don't know, monochrome. But
You should.
he tries so hard to like make it sound like he needs help. But
Could you imagine someone dubbing over him every time in this movie with Schwarzenegger?
California. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like the way that he says it, the drawn out, just was terrible.
He sounds like a whiny brat.
Just completely emotionlessly and without drawing it out, say California. It has the same impact and probably less annoying.
Yeah, because the other lines of dialogue he has in this movie are fine. I mean, he has a high-pitched child's voice. You can't really change that.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't like it.
Okay, that's fine. That's your call, dude.
All right. What did I have? Oh, I guess I start with best performance. I guess I'll just read Craig's. He had Fred Savage as Corey.
Okay.
I can't agree with that, simply because Christian Slater was in this movie and knocked it out of the park in every one of the fewer scenes that he was in.
I also said Fred Savage. I was going with Christian Slater until I started skipping through the movie again, and I realized screen time Savage is on there a lot more, and he has a lot more to deal with. And I even like there's weird scenes like when he's throwing darts at the map at the beginning. Mm-hmm. The way he's emoting, like his facial expressions, he conveys so much with a look. And there's several looks whenever he hits a different place, a different state with the dart. And I was like, holy shit, this kid can actually act at his age. I always thought he was just the brat from like the Wonder Years, right?
By no means do I think that he did a bad job.
I just think with the amount of opportunities he had to drop the ball, he didn't once. And that's why I went with him. I agree with you that Christian Slater is amazing, but he's also an actor for longer. He's a more mature actor. He's had more practice, more roles. He was my favorite character in the movie, but I would say best performance is Fred Savage.
I mean, I can see an argument for either, but I mean, there was a few instances with Fred Savage, like his surprise when he sees that Jimmy got 50,000 in Double Dragon. That might have been a contradiction to your praise for his facial expressions.
Yeah, maybe so.
And again, he runs a little hot and cold. By no means anything that I would consider as a bad performance, but just a few little flaws that would have kept me from saying the best performance. And again, if Christian Slater wasn't in this movie, or if a lesser actor was playing Nick Woods, Fred Savage would probably be at the top for me.
Yeah, and that's fair. I'm sure I missed a few things here and there.
You're too busy thinking about that guy in the Speedo.
Green Speedo.
Even though that takes place way later in the movie than what you were talking about, but you must have remembered from when you were a kid that scene was coming.
Oh yeah, it brought that trauma back for sure.
So what did you have for the best or most, not best, sorry, favorite or most memorable line?
How can the most memorable line not be California?
Because
that's all I remembered from this movie. When you're asking like any dialogue, like any of the screenwriting, I just think California. If someone asks me, what's Wizard about? Like, oh, it's that video game movie where that kid keeps talking about California.
How can it be anything but that? Well, both Craig and I have different answers.
Okay, well, obviously I suck. Go ahead.
Don't get me wrong. California is absolutely one that I will remember, but it's not the only one that I remembered.
It was the only one I remembered, and it was the one I hated the most. But feel free, please tell me, what did you two pick?
So I'm going to start with me in this case. And it was, I love the Power Glove. It's so bad. Now, I didn't watch the movie when it was new. I watched it maybe 10 years later, right? Still quite a while ago, but definitely a long time after it was released.
Even in '99, that's laughable.
Even in '99, I knew that the Power Glove was a piece of garbage, and I could not forget his praise for that peripheral. And even his delivery in it, like, he stares off into space, like, so lovingly of this piece of garbage. I remembered that. I remembered the California, but those were kind of the two lines that I remembered from when I watched it.
I love the Power Glove. It's as bad as my acting.
Now, interestingly enough, well, I mean, the guy who played Lucas had a whole 5 roles in his IMDb. Craig's actually is neither of ours.
You're wrong, Craig.
But the reason that I said mine first is because his was the one that came right after that, when Corey puts his arm around Haley and says, "Yeah, well, keep your power gloves off her, pal."
Okay. That's the most memorable line. Interesting.
Again, favorite or memorable, right? Now, unfortunately, we don't have explanations.
Oh, no explanations, but plenty of questions.
I mean, if you know Craig like I do, that line definitely sounds like one that would be his favorite.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's just such a cheesy comeback.
Let's start off with Craig's favorite or memorable scene.
All right, so I'm just going to read word for word what he wrote in the survey. Biker scene with "Send Me an Angel" playing.
That's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, that's a pretty good scene. It also raised many questions.
I so wish that we had further explanation on his answers here, because I would love to pick his brain on that one.
Yeah. That's just one of many scenes in this movie that left me questioning what I was watching. Like, what is happening? Or why is this happening?
It wouldn't be difficult to comprehend that the reason he picked it might be just for the sheer randomness of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it just stunned at that point. There are a lot of scenes in this movie where I just kind of sat there and like, I'm trying to write notes. I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense. And I go back to the scene. I'm like, yeah, that's what happened.
Was I drunk when I wrote these? Nope.
No, I know, like, I have zero excuse. Like, looking at my notes, I'm like, some of this doesn't make any sense, but I know for a fact this is what happens in those scenes. Okay.
Why don't we just blame Tobey Maguire?
Oh, poor Toby. I'm glad he didn't get credited in this movie.
He is credited in it. Well, he's credited in it in IMDb as uncredited, but I mean, with the internet now, people are gonna know.
Yeah.
My most memorable scene, because I'm not going to say favorite, was the video game Gaiden finals. And it's simply because of how many inaccuracies took place in this thing.
Yeah.
There are so many times where they cut to the video game and the announcer is like, "And Lucas beat World 3," which I don't know who calls the stages worlds. And right on the bottom on the screen that they're showing, it says World 1. It's like, Did you even look at this in editing?
No.
Or they're like, "Oh, Jimmy's up to 14,000 points." And they show the screen and it clearly says 6,000.
Yep.
Like, did you guys even try?
If you look, when Jimmy dies, he gains points. It's weird, man. Like, I honestly, like, going into this movie again recently, I believed this to be geared towards video game fans. And what a slap in the face it really is.
But it's not even like you have to, like, try that hard. Narrate what you actually have in the scene. If he has 6,000 points, say, "Jimmy's up to 6,000 points." But I guess maybe they added the footage and editing later?
I don't know. I really don't know. But, like, you had to actively be terrible at representing video games to do this movie.
It's not even the first time they did it, too. The scene earlier in the movie when Corey and Haley are talking about their plans in the diner, and Jimmy's playing Ninja Gaiden on the like table that's got like a screen under it or whatever. Haley says it's his second time through and he hasn't even been hit yet. And they show the screen and the health bar is clearly missing 2 notches of health.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I noticed that too.
It's like they didn't even try. You don't need to know the video game or the terminology or any of that to just look at the footage and be like, maybe we shouldn't say or use this footage when it's completely off. Anyway, what did you have for your favorite or most memorable scene?
Before I state that, I just had a thought. Is Haley an orphan?
Doesn't she have a dad?
She talks about her dad. Or talked.
See, because when they get to her house and they, she confesses that she essentially just confesses to everything, right?
Yeah.
She still stands firm that her goal was to win the competition, and then when her dad came home from working to give him the news that they won the money.
Where the fuck was she then to have to go to the bus station to get a ticket?
My only guess, and I thought that too, is that perhaps there was a level of accuracy to it, because she says that she travels with her dad, but sometimes she doesn't go the whole way because, he doesn't want her, living her life on the road.
Okay.
Seems
all right.
irresponsible for her to go partway with him and then him just give her a bus ticket home. But you could consider that might be what happened. She went, with her dad to Utah. Her dad had to keep going. So he gave her a bus ticket, which presumably would have been to Reno to go back home.
But then she would have had to, I guess, take a cab to her trailer in the desert?
I mean, maybe the idea was that, when you get there, call Spanky and he'll give you a ride home, for example, right? Because they definitely show that there's a bit of a closer relationship to with her and Spanky versus, say, the other truck drivers. Now, I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just saying that when I try to find some sort of, justification or make some sense of it, that's what makes the most sense to me.
Do you think he'll find it weird that a family took her?
See, the credits rolled, so it just ceased to exist.
Because they're all going back home and she's with them.
Well, maybe they were like, okay, we're going to get you back home to Reno.
But the Batemans aren't going to drive to Reno. Just because Haley's in the pickup truck with the Woods.
Dude, I don't know.
That's weird. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, memorable scene.
It's the old guy, isn't it?
Yeah. Traumatizing. Most traumatizing scene.
You tell me that in another 10 years, when you think back to this movie after having watched it as an adult, that isn't the thing that's burned in your mind?
Oh, no. There's two things. I almost cried, and there's an old dude, wrinkly man in a Speedo. I came into this with a memorable scene, and I left it with a favorite scene. Okay. Coming into this movie, I always remembered the televised scorecard at Video Armageddon of the knights running. I don't know why, but that's always stuck out in my mind.
Okay.
But favorite scene should come as no surprise to you, and it's the scene in the dinosaur at the end.
Oh, the one that doesn't feel like it belongs to this movie.
Yeah, the what do you call it? The good one.
Final recommendations?
No, don't do this. Don't watch this movie. It's not what it promises to be. It doesn't even come close. It's an editing nightmare. Shambles of what might have been a great movie, but just comes across as insulting and lazy. The acting is great. The cast is great. I hope they're all embarrassed with this final product. I do not recommend this movie. You?
I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it. This movie, watching it, sitting through it, is torturous and laborious. And I hate Craig for having recommended it. I feel like, in some way, it was some sort of sick joke to put us through this torment, which I guess is perhaps someone's best motivation for being one of our fan picks. But
Hey, people voted for it.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Absolutely. People, for some reason, are lifting it up to like a 6 out of 10 on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't understand that. I don't recommend this movie by yourself. I don't recommend this movie with friends.
No.
I don't even recommend this movie as an example of what not to do, because I feel like the errors that you would learn from seeing this example of what not to do should be common sense, and you should know that without having to watch this movie. Take the worst movie that we have reviewed on this show, or at least my feelings towards it, and it's probably better than this.
Ouch.
This movie was garbage. Straight trash.
Yeah, it's real bad. Real bad.
So, that was our movie. Let us know what you guys thought. You can hit us up on social media. We are on Twitter at BS Bargain Bin. You can find, of course, on Facebook. Just look us up. There's comment sections. You can let us know what you thought. Give us your feelings on, our response to it. Your picks for the awards. I'm glad this one is over.
Yeah, me too, man.
Ben,
That was a good go. Yeah. What's up, sir?
what will be the palate cleanser for next week, sir?
Well, I kind of wanted to take a spin-off from this movie, and I was like, you know what? We should do Super Mario Brothers. And then I was like, no, that's just plain stupid. And I was like, we should go Double Dragon.
No, God, no.
No, that was terrible. So next week we'll be talking about 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
You are here because the outside world rejects you. This is your family. I am your father. You are my eyes and ears.
We've been waiting for you, Miss O'Neill.
There is a new enemy. Freaks of nature. Together we will punish these creatures.
What the heck was that?
Looked like sort of a big tiger in a trench coat.
Man, that is so much better than the other possibilities.
I was setting you up, man.
All right, until next week, have a good one, guys.
All the best, guys.